Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize to my sister after exposing her lying problem? My 21 female sister 23 female sister is a liar. Sometimes her lies are so bizarre that they don't make sense. It's like she's delusional. When we were younger we used to fight and bicker all the time. But my parents never got involved out of fear of taking sides. When you have a conversation with her it is almost impossible to tell the truth from the lies. Last year she got married and accused her mother-in-law of hitting her. This enraged my mother, who cut ties with all of my sisters-in-laws, even though they were extremely close. Soon my parents noticed that her accounts of the event dramatically differed every time, and it became very clear she was lying. My parents are devastated now because accused their friend of something she didn't do. My mother wants to fix the situation, and I suggested she tell the truth. But she doesn't want my sister to deal with the repercussions of the damage she has caused, because my sister doesn't deserve to be confronted or isolated by the family, which is likely what will happen. My sister hasn't spoken to her husband in months. He is now extremely depressed and struggles to eat sleep. When you confront my sister about one of her lies, she throws a massive tantrum. She screams, cries and ignores you for days, incapable of having a normal conversation. She also hates my guts, and I really don't know why. I think it's because our parents didn't allow us to go to university, but I fought with help from police and persevered my dream to go, whereas she just accepted not going. My parents always begged me to be nice to her and spend time with her, but it's impossible to be around her with the way she is so hostile and lies all the time. A few days ago, I ordered some frozen mice off the internet for my tortoise. I repeatedly asked my sister if she had picked up any post for me. She was the one that took the post those days, and she said no every time. Yesterday my mum found a parcel hidden downstairs under the warm printer with my name on it. The parcel was covered in tape that said dry ice in capital letters, and my mum handed it to me. Sure enough, the 50 mice had defrosted and were rotting. I was infuriated as these mice had been killed just to end up in the bin. Just because a parcel had my name on it, she had to sabotage it. I explained to my parents that I knew it was her and that she should be punished for this and recompense me for the money I paid for the mice. Later on my mum confronted her and, sure enough, she denied it and started screaming and crying and ignoring everyone. My mum wants me to apologize and rekindle my relationship with her. I told her I should not apologize as I've done nothing wrong, and she should open her eyes and see that my sister is delusional and is ruining lives. This situation is really upsetting as I feel I'm doing something wrong. I feel like must be an awful person for my own sister to despise me so much. Am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole. Your sister sounds legitimately like she's mentally ill, and your parents are enabling it. Did this just start happening? Is it a lifelong issue? How has she lied in the past? A few other tidbits. Your parents chose to cut ties as a knee-jerk reaction before ever asking for anyone else's side of the story. That is 100% on them. They deserve whatever fallout they have for that. Your sister is 23. She can't be punished by your parents. You're all adults. Her and her husband need serious therapy. Thanks for your reply, it's much appreciated. So yeah, she's been lying all her life. It started off as silly minor things whilst she was at school, like when she would come home and say she doodled something in class and the teacher saw and thought it was incredible and the whole class was cheering. But the lies just got more and more regular and more unbelievable. I agree with the knee-jerk reaction, but to put in my mum's perspective, not defending her, just simply stating she should believe her daughter and defend her daughter in a scenario as big as assault. Most parents would believe their child, I guess, but most children aren't pathological liars either. The frustrating thing is that she can't be punished because it's too late for disciplining. It's gone on for so long that it's so difficult now to put a stop to it. She seriously needs some therapy immediately, but as another comment stated, you can't make someone go, and if she did go, I can imagine a therapist would confront one of her lies in a professional manner, and then she would just immediately stop going. I hope this makes sense. You're not the a-hole. This is eerily like my sister were it not for the ages. I would have thought I'd stumbled upon the Reddit account of one of my siblings. My sister lied since she was forming sentences. Again, Most parents assume their children aren't pathological liars, so aren't equipped or prepared to handle the situation when that turns out to be the case. My parents were furthermore concerned with keeping up appearances, so it was mostly brushed off as her being imaginative or silly or mucking about. If she was called out in any serious way, she would slam doors, cry, scream invectives, etc. So as she got older it was easier to avoid upsetting her than to address the real problem. I suppose the fact that she did this from the moment she was speaking in sentences, her whole life, yet none of our siblings did, makes me think that it is some neurological condition or genetic thing. Sometimes the lies would be inconvenient for her ex, claiming she didn't want dessert when she did, or otherwise utterly pointless ex saying her test score was 64 rather than 65. No one would ever check or probably even notice a 1-point difference. Therapy probably wouldn't be enough, but I wouldn't know, since that would make our family look bad. You realize, nothing ever changed her behavior. She got slightly smarter with her lies as she got older, to minimize trouble for herself, and only ever in the short term. She never kept friends for very long for this reason. My brothers and sisters and myself tried everything we could think of, but nothing worked. Proof, camera footage, anything was beside the point. Social exclusion, punishment, nothing. She was beaten by bullies at school for getting in over her head and telling one lie too many time and time again, but never figured out how to change her behavior. It really seemed to be an innate compulsion of hers, something fundamental in her. I doubt she could stop it if she tried, since she has been like this since she was a baby. She literally has no experience with just being a normal person who says, "Nice weather today," and it not being a pointless lie for no one's benefit because it's actually drizzling outside. The only thing I ever tried that made any difference at all, mostly for myself, actually was to act concerned and slightly sad, like the unfortunate parent of a particularly stupid child. Oh, you really think that, don't you? Ah well, that's nice. Then, I wouldn't disagree when she would insist and just nod along. Oh yes, of course you said that, but with an air of poor thing. This irritated her enough that she was a bit quieter around me. She would still lie when spoken to, of course, but would not volunteer anything or go out of her way to lie to me. That was the only thing that ever made any difference. Oh, and edited to add, you're not the a-hole, obviously, but you can't rekindle a relationship that was never really there or very strong. And not with someone who demonstrably does not want a close relationship with you, wasting your money in those mice and withholding food from your innocent tortoise. You can't fix this. I suggest not rocking the boat until you can move out and get some distance from her. She is not going to change. People don't change when they don't want to, and if she is anything like my sister, she probably can't anyway, because that is who she is. Your sister needs a mental health evaluation. It's scary that your family has been enabling her lies. Obviously a random anonymous person from the internet can't diagnose her, but she sounds eerily similar to someone I knew who turned out to be a sociopath and pathological liar. These people need help, but also are extremely toxic. I would cut ties with her until she gets help, and even then be very careful. You may have to cut ties completely, and her husband should do the same. I'm sorry to say this, but you likely need to limit or cut ties with your other family members as well. The fact that they continue to enable your sister says a lot. I think it's because our parents didn't allow us to go to university, but I fought with help from police and persevered my dream to go, whereas she just accepted not going. So I know this isn't the point of the post, but like WTF is the story behind this. My parents believe university sends children off the rails and that as women we can get jobs, however we should prioritize getting married and having children. An educated woman is an unmarried woman basically. It opens gateways to drink, drugs and boys, which hinders the priority of marriage and family. My sister accepted that fate, but I refused, and I tried to leave the house. My family wouldn't let me leave, so I called the police and they took me out of the house. And the next day I moved to my new campus. They didn't speak to me for a few months, but eventually apologized to me. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.